Anime. Anime in its most basic form refers to animation. In Japan, anime is a culturally accepted and fairly basic form of entertainment for both adults and teens. One's first mental impression of anime might be a spiky haired magician or a sci fi robot, but the genre contains multitudes from drama, action, romance to historical fiction, horror, comedy, and much more. There's a series to match any and every taste. Welcome to Outreach Network. For our interview today, we have with us Mr. Rajorshi Basu, who is the owner of India's first animation studio known as Studio Durga. Studio Durga has won multiple awards for their plot of their upcoming movie known as Karmachakra. If you haven't watched their trailer yet, the link to their trailer has been mentioned in the description box. Do check out the trailer and also the Instagram page. The movie trailer has won Platinum Award for Best Animation Shots at Independent Shots Awards, Los Angeles 2020, and received honorable mentions for Best Web Series, TV Plot, and Best Original Score. Let's find out what Mr. Basu has to say about anime and his film. Could you tell us a little bit more about your studio and how you came up with the idea to launch this studio in India?
The idea of doing anime in India has been in my life for roughly half my life. I mean, I've had it since my early teens, and I thought that I'd do something. But yeah, it was just a pipe dream. It wasn't really, there wasn't really enough new in terms of anime production process back then when I first thought of doing this. But then over the years, I think all my skills and my background are very in tune with what I'm doing right now. And I think there were a lot of roadblocks we faced. We're still facing a lot of roadblocks. So I think finding people who were good at doing the hand-drawn animation style was a challenge, and finding people who can do the manga style on top of that and are also good animators for hand-drawn animation, that was a challenge. Other than that, gaining the support from so many fans is something completely new. I mean, no one's used to something like this. We're the first guys who are actually doing something like this in India. So yeah, that I won't really call it a roadblock, but it took time to build a community, and now it's sort of a niche that a lot of people believe in and think that it has potential to grow. The next roadblock we're facing is in terms of distributors, because animation, as you know, in India is mostly looked at for the kids market. So, I mean, even in Japan, the kid market is number one. But other than that, there is also a huge parallel market for young adults upwards. So, yeah, in India, it is quite a leap, I should say, if Karmachakra does get released, and we're trying our best to do that. But in the meantime, we're working on, there's already a demand for this kind of animation, non-kids themed animation in the anime style and in the anime process of production, which we follow really closely. So we are doing a lot of client work in that sense. So there is a demand, there is a growing demand in the industry right now. I mean, it's always been there from the fans. Everyone's fantasized about having an Indian sort of anime thing going. So, but yeah, I mean, we're the only ones who sort of came ahead and just went with it. It is something that has always been a passion for me, and always, and everyone that we work with. So yeah, definitely. I mean, it's very passion driven, and throughout the years, gathering all the skills that are required to do something like this. I think both of these contribute largely to what you see in our product.
The next question goes like, what has been the viewership like? What has been the response from fans in India? And is the viewership largely Indian, or is it more? How has the target sector been about your viewership? Could you give us a little more insight into that?
Sure. So I think the first this started this experiment sort of, or at least at the stage at which it was an experiment, was around 2016, 2017ish. So we've been sort of conceptualizing this from that time. And in 2017, we sort of launched a previous trailer, which is not on YouTube anymore. Just as an experiment, we had done that. And in the beginning, we faced a lot of I wouldn't say opposition, but people were just taken aback by the whole idea that how can, why or how should this happen, And Delhi Comic Con in 2017, we presented the trailer and it got a really good response. And after that, we dove headfirst into production and we sort of upped the quality 10 times. And we deleted that old video and people mostly forgot about it, but a lot of our older fans still remember that. And then in 2018 or 2019, 2019, we released the trailer, which was actually doing the rounds with distributors for pitching for at least a year up till then, from 2018 to 2019. And 2019, we released it to the public. It was a very strong reaction, a lot of love, a lot of hate. So it was very volatile, I would say. It wasn't wishy-washy. The response wasn't wishy-washy. And then the community only grew. I mean, the people who loved it, they got more people who you might think will love it. And the haters still remain, but then they are in their own corner, and we sort of allow them to hate because that's just natural. On viewership wise, I think our trailer right now, if I'm not mistaken, has something like between 400,000 and 500,000 views. And the episode that we brought out much later was I think it's crossed 1 lakh views, or 200, between 100 and 200,000 views. Subscribers right now, I think we're going closer to 40k-ish subscribers, which is not much, but then we don't really care because the YouTube algorithm doesn't put so much focus on subscriber count. They put more focus on quality and how catchy your content is and how regular you are as a content creator.
Exactly. I hope the same support continues and grows even further. Now let's talk about the movie itself, Karmachakra. What was the idea behind it? What was the plot that revolves around, and how did it come across?
So apart from the other things that I've done for the movie and the various other hats that I've put on, the script is largely mine. I have 2 co-writers, but that was mainly to get into the nitty-gritty of the original dub language, which is Bengali. But other than that, I think the script that I wrote was very influenced by essentially all my influences, which are quite a lot of influences. I mean, there's just way too many to sort of, pick and choose. Yeah, I think the idea was to create a sort of, calling it postmodern will just be sacrilege. But then I would say in the same vein that it's a little non-linear. It's not about traditional narratives and traditional written characters and traditional plot lines. So it sort of does away with all of this. As the synopsis says, wherever you can see it on the internet, it's got a little bit of themes of sort of psychology and cyber technology and all. So if you watch the entire movie, and of course mythology, but we're not sort of beating you over the head with mythology like most attempts at entertainment within animation from India have done in the past. So we're sort of keeping it as a theme. It's just a layer. It's one of the many layers. And Karmachakra, essentially the idea is that it's the cycle of action and reaction, or it's also got certain traditional sort of reference, traditional references in the name. It's also the 2 words from our language that a lot of foreigners know. So that's karma and chakra, basically. So there's a lot of thought that went into sort of naming it that way. And other than that, I think in terms of cycle of action and reaction, it's more like a web of an ensemble cast of characters. There's a lot of characters, and if you watch the full movie when it comes out, you'll see that there's actually a lot of characters. So say like in an anime like Durga, or a lot of other light novel adaptations, you'll see that there's a system in which the plot is driven. So it's a very character driven plot, and there's a lot of characters. So there's a lot of things to attach your attention to, and I think that's one of the main draws in terms of engaging you. And it's done in a non-linear way, so it trusts the viewer's intelligence instead of just hand-holding and giving it all to you. So other than that, everything else is. I mean, this is what my intention is. The rest of it is just it's very open to interpretation. I mean, there'll be a sort of general consensus on which way the plot is going. But in terms of thematically how you interpret it, I think it varies from person to person. And we allow anyone to pass any of their sort of thought systems onto this. So,
the next question is very general question. It's not in respect to the movie. Do you think Indian-based anime can go up against Japan-based anime in the coming years?
Interesting question. I think it depends on what the demand is. Because unless there's a demand, there won't be an industry for it. There won't be people paying money to get into schools to learn how to do that for it. And there won't be schools focusing on this particular art form because there is no demand for it. And you won't have the skills required because see, a lot of people say that there's a budget issue. I don't think there is. I mean, the way we guys did this with a small team and with a small budget. At larger budgets, you have like 200 people teams and stuff. You have people working on Chota Bheem and things like that. So I don't think a particular art style or a production method that requires you to go all the way in terms of detail and complexity. I don't think it necessarily requires humongous budgets. There's a lot of independent animation studios that make their own short films and send it to festivals, just like we do. And they do it through crowdfunding, but essentially since we did a feature film, we didn't go for crowdfunding because the budget is a lot more than a short film, which is also why most people do short films. They don't go for a feature. I think, because a lot of people, when they see, even in Japanese anime, when they see a short which is terribly drawn, or they'll just zoom in on a still frame of something that's far away, and it's meant to be drawn with less detail because it's far away, to keep it within the budget and to keep it within the time limit of animation. So unless you have gone to a single art class in your life, you won't understand these things. So the average person doesn't understand these things. What they do say all the time is about budget, and I think that if I hired say not junior or senior animators, let's say I hired 20 people to intern with me and they all sucked at animation or they sucked at art, I could pay them $1 million and I still won't get what I want. So it's not always about the budget. It's about the people you have in your team, and I think India has a lot of talent. So specifically, if there is a demand for this art style and for this production method, because that is also important. We are probably the only studio in India who follow the Japanese production method to a T. Including all the software, there's a lot of detail I can go into, but I'm not going to do that right now. Other than that, I think there shouldn't be any issue. If there's a demand for it, there'll be more of it, pretty much. Whether it's from clients like we are seeing right now, fans, though we know there is a demand for it, but then the distributors still don't understand that for some reason. And we are being the voice of everyone, and we are trying to get this here. So hopefully that will work out. But yeah, it all it can totally be done because there's plenty of talent out here and plenty of people who are passionate about anime, and those two things overlap a lot of times. So definitely. It can happen now. There's no set time period or imagined time period when India will be a superpower in anime, and it's always been there. It's just that there's sort of been no reason for the industry to put it in the mainstream because they're already making enough money from kids content, and I wouldn't say poorly animated kids content, but where there is no requirement for superb animation and complexity and quality in character designs and backgrounds and lighting, illustration, and colors, all of that. If there's no, so people will try to reduce, as a businessman, you'll try to reduce your costs, right? So, but there are many other avenues where India is excelling in animation and VFX and all of that. So, unless there's a demand, there really won't be any reason for us to move in that direction. But given a chance, we can do it right now. It's totally possible in India.
What is the reason that we are seeing a huge surge in the anime popularity in today's modern day? And what are the prospects, future prospects of Durga Studio you have in mind for the future? Ideas that or goals that you have set in mind?
Okay, that's two questions. So I think for the studio, I would say that we are at this turning point where we can sustain on client work, but then why do something like Karmachakra if we only want to do that, right? So we are trying our best to bring the first movie to the forefront. We have many ideas in our stash, so to speak, in terms of other series which are totally different from Karmachakra, and in anime style and in a similar sort of tone, but then absolutely different themes and different art style and all of that, all within anime. Um, Other than that, I think we will continue to do work for clients both in India and abroad. Um, Other than that, could you repeat the first part of your question?
Yes, what is the main reason behind the rising popularity? There's been a huge surge
Got
in
it.
Indian viewership
Yeah, yeah.
actually. So what is the
Yeah,
main
yeah,
reason
yeah.
behind that?
So I think Indian viewership has had this latent potential for a very long time. Ever since the days of you know early Cartoon Network in the 90s, and then Toonami, and after that Animax and its multiple failures within the Indian TV system. Um, After that, now we're talking about, and of course, there's a lot of streaming. Now there's streaming sites, but a few years ago there was no Netflix, there was none of these OTTs, and I think it was still a very underground community in terms of you know the way you could actually get your hands on some anime, and whether it's pirated sites or whatever, any sort of place that you could stream. But I think that is a lot of that has changed right now. A lot of it is in the mainstream, is discussed very openly and thoroughly within our country. Um, so I think that is a major factor, the availability, and I mean, people can pirate it and watch it anyway, but the discourse will only happen if it is marketed to the mainstream folks. So other than that, if we're talking screening, a lot of amazing things happened with people from the community doing these change.org things, and for Dragon Ball Super, and after that for Weathering with You and stuff. So yeah, I mean, that was amazing. I think that the recent sort of surge that you're talking about is, I think, more connected to those phenomena. Um, and but yeah, we sort of coincidentally thought of releasing our thing around the same time, and there's a lot of people who became really interested because it all came together for them. Like, there's movements in India to get anime to the big screen, and there's even an Indian anime creators, or a creator rather. So yeah, I think it was a good time when that sort of slight surge happened, and even a person who wasn't interested in anime till yesterday was attending these things just for the heck of it, just for the support, and just for the whole spirit of having something new come into India. So yeah, I mean, it is peer driven largely, but then there's also this entire world of anime and this entire world of film, which is um, objectively impressive to a lot of people who are in tune with the medium for a long period of time, and have uh, grown in their appreciation and acceptance of a larger, more vast sense of the medium, whether it comes to film and anime. So I think our content also largely caters to that, and it is not completely the kind of popcorn content that you have to watch because your peers told you. So, but that is a byproduct. It happens to every show, and especially if something is so niche and something is so new, a lot of it will be peer driven. And in that case, we're thankful that that is happening. So, because we don't have marketing budget like say Marvel or Avengers and stuff, right? So it is almost entirely community driven. Our campaign is completely um, organic, and we haven't spent a single a bit of money on it. So and we probably will in the future when we really need to step up, and when it's going to be distributed or we are coming up with some new stuff that we want should reach more people. Um, it is largely community driven, and we are absolutely thankful to the people doing that, for finishing the puzzle with their bit of the puzzle.
Thank you, sir. That will be it. Like, we have had a lot of questions, a lot of insights, and a lot of thoughtful insights that you have given to us. I'm sure the community will love hearing what you have had to say.
That's all from this session of interview. If you like what you saw, do like, comment, and share it with our friends and family. Also, do subscribe to our YouTube page and check out other videos on our Instagram page. Thank you.